Look around you. How many brilliant ideas have died stillborn? How many dreams have withered on the vine, never seeing the light of day? We often blame failure for these tragic endings. We fear making the wrong move, the misstep that will lead to defeat. But there is a far more insidious killer of potential, a silent thief that operates not in the arena of action, but in the quiet chambers of the mind. It is the paralysis of indecision, the endless loop of what-ifs, the fear of choosing the wrong path that leads to choosing no path at all. Indecision is the silent assassin of destiny, stealing more futures than failure ever could. In this message, we will dissect this dream-killing habit and arm you with the definitive strategy to conquer it, starting now. A mind divided against itself cannot stand.
To defeat an enemy, you must first understand it. The habit of indecision is not a simple character flaw. It is a complex psychological prison with deep roots. At its core, indecision is a fear-based response. It is a faulty survival mechanism that, in its attempt to protect you from potential pain, ends up guaranteeing the real pain of regret and unfulfilled potential. A mind divided against itself, caught between the desire to advance and the fear of moving forward, cannot stand. This paralysis stems from two of the great ghosts of fear that we have discussed before, the fear of failure and the fear of criticism. The fear of failure is the most common root. Your mind, in its desire to protect your ego, reasons that as long as you have not made a definite decision, you cannot possibly fail. The decision is postponed, and in that postponement, you buy a fleeting moment of safety. You remain in the comfortable harbor of potential, never daring to face the stormy seas of reality where the risk of sinking is real. But a ship in harbor is not what ships are built for. By avoiding the possibility of failure, you also completely eliminate the possibility of success. You have chosen a slow, certain decay over the chance for a glorious victory. The second root is the fear of criticism. The moment you make a definite decision and act upon it, you make yourself visible. You expose yourself to the judgment, the opinions, and the potential ridicule of others. To avoid this social discomfort, the mind chooses the perceived safety of inaction. It tells you to wait, to gather more information, to get one more opinion. This is the sophisticated trap known as analysis paralysis. You create the illusion of progress by constantly researching and planning, but you are merely building a more elaborate and well-fortified prison cell. You are so afraid of what others will say about your finished work that you ensure the work is never finished at all. This habit is so deadly because it operates on the pleasure principle. Your brain is wired to seek immediate pleasure and avoid immediate pain. The act of making a difficult decision and starting a task is perceived as immediate pain. It requires effort. It involves risk. Procrastinating, on the other hand, offers an immediate hit of pleasure, the sweet relief of distraction, the temporary lifting of pressure. It is a highly addictive drug that trades your entire future for a few moments of comfort in the present. This internal division, this fear of choice, manifests itself in a more visible and equally destructive habit. It is the art of postponement, the thief of time and potential. We must now confront the primary accomplice of indecision, the seductive lie of procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of your own potential. We have diagnosed the internal state of indecision, the mind divided against itself by fear. Now, we must confront its external manifestation, its most loyal and destructive accomplice. It is the habit that masquerades as taking a break or waiting for the right moment. It is the art of postponement. It is procrastination. And as the phrase on your screen suggests, it is the most effective thief of your own potential. Procrastination is not laziness. Laziness is the apathy of not wanting to do anything. Procrastination is an active process. It is the conscious choice to do something else, something easier,
something more pleasurable, instead of the one thing you know you should be doing. It is an escape. But what are you escaping from? You are escaping from the emotional discomfort associated with the important task. The boredom, the confusion, the fear of failure, the fear of success. To avoid this momentary discomfort, you make a deal with a mythical creature, your future self. You tell yourself the seductive lie, "I will do this tomorrow." And, for a moment, you feel a wave of relief. The pressure is lifted. But this relief is a high-interest loan. You have just transferred the responsibility to your future self, but you have also transferred the anxiety, and you have added interest. Tomorrow, the task will not be easier. It will be heavier, now burdened with the added weight of yesterday's guilt and tomorrow's deadline. This creates a vicious cycle. You procrastinate to feel better, but the act of procrastinating makes you feel guilty and inadequate. To escape this new, worse feeling, you procrastinate even more, seeking another hit of temporary relief. It is a downward spiral that erodes the most important asset you possess, your self-respect. Every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you say, "I will do it tomorrow," and tomorrow becomes never, you are teaching your subconscious mind that your word is worthless. You are slowly dismantling your own willpower, one broken promise at a time. This is how procrastination kills dreams, not in a single dramatic blow, but through a slow, silent assassination of your belief in your own ability to follow through. To escape this prison of endless tomorrows, you must first understand that the escape does not begin with a grand gesture, but with a single, small, and seemingly insignificant act. It begins with the power of a single, decisive action.
Analysis paralysis leads to dreams unfulfilled.
We have dissected the disease. We understand the anatomy of indecision and the seductive lie of procrastination. We are now standing in the center of the prison, fully aware of the bars and the chains. So, how do we begin the great escape? The answer is both profoundly simple and incredibly difficult. The antidote to the poison of overthinking is a single dose of decisive action. Action is the great clarifier. It is the sword that cuts through the fog of indecision. The mind, trapped in inaction, believes it needs more information, more certainty, more clarity before it can act. This is the fundamental lie. Clarity is not the cause of action, it is the consequence of it. You do not think your way into a new way of acting, you act your way into a new way of thinking. The moment you take one single, definite step in a chosen direction, the world changes. You are no longer a passive observer of your life, you are an active participant. This single act sends a powerful shockwave through your nervous system, signaling that a new commander is in charge. This is the law of momentum. Think of a massive, heavy flywheel. To get it moving from a dead stop requires a tremendous amount of initial energy. The first push is the hardest. This is the point where most people quit. But once that wheel begins to turn, even slowly, it becomes easier and easier to keep it moving. Eventually, its own momentum makes it almost unstoppable. A single, decisive action is that first difficult push on your own personal flywheel. The size of the action does not matter. The key is that it must be decisive. It is the act of choosing one path and taking one step, thereby closing the door to all other possibilities for that moment. If your goal is to write a book, the decisive action is not to research writing techniques for another week. It is to open a document and write the first sentence. If your goal is to get in shape, the decisive action is not to compare gym memberships for another month. It is to put on your shoes and walk for 10 minutes, right now. This is how you birth momentum. This is how you gain clarity. The path forward is not revealed to those who stand still, it is revealed to those who have the courage to start walking even in the fog.
Decisive action births momentum and clarity. We have now established that a single, decisive action is the antidote to the poison of indecision. It is the push that starts the great flywheel of momentum. But what is that invisible force that holds the flywheel in place? What makes that first push feel so impossibly heavy? We must now confront the great tyrant of the mind, the true source of paralysis, the fear of being wrong. This fear masquerades as a virtue. It calls itself prudence, caution, or high standards. Its most sophisticated disguise is the mask of perfectionism. The perfectionist tells themselves, I am not procrastinating, I am just waiting until it is perfect. But this is the highest form of self-sabotage. Perfection is an impossible standard, a fantasy that does not exist in the real world. By setting this impossible standard, the mind gives itself the perfect, perpetual excuse for inaction. If it cannot be done perfectly, it is better not to do it at all. And so, the book is never written, the business is never launched, the art is never created. This fear traps you in the prison of what-ifs. What if I choose the wrong career path and regret it for the rest of my life? What if I start this project and it fails and everyone sees me fail? What if I make a decision and it turns out to be a mistake? This endless loop of questioning is not a sign of intelligent analysis. It is a sign of fear. It is a mind so terrified of choosing the wrong door that it chooses to remain in the prison cell where it is safe. But here is the great truth you must understand to break free. In the journey of life, there are no wrong decisions, only feedback. Every action you take, even one that does not produce your desired outcome, gives you invaluable data. It teaches you what doesn't work. It shows you a new perspective. It builds your resilience. A mistake is simply a lesson, a course correction. But inaction? Inaction teaches you nothing. It provides no new data. It keeps you trapped in the same loop of ignorance and fear. You must accept this profound reality. The cost of inaction is always higher than the cost of a mistake. A mistake can be corrected. A failure can be learned from. But the time, the momentum, and the self-respect you lose while paralyzed by indecision can never be recovered. The real failure is not making the wrong decision. The real failure is making no decision at all. Once you have learned to see that the only true failure is inaction, you are ready to adopt a new, more powerful philosophy.
Fear of being wrong paralyzes progress. We have now established that a single, decisive action is the antidote to the poison of indecision. It is the push that starts the great flywheel of momentum. But what is that invisible force that holds the flywheel in place? What makes that first push feel so impossibly heavy? We must now confront the great tyrant of the mind, the true source of paralysis, the fear of being wrong. This fear masquerades as a virtue. It calls itself prudence, caution, or high standards. Its most sophisticated disguise is the mask of perfectionism. The perfectionist tells themselves, I am not procrastinating, I am just waiting until it is perfect. But this is the highest form of self-sabotage. Perfection is an impossible standard, a fantasy that does not exist in the real world. By setting this impossible standard, the mind gives itself the perfect, perpetual excuse for inaction. If it cannot be done perfectly, it is better not to do it at all. And so, the book is never written, the business is never launched, the art is never created. This fear traps you in the prison of what-ifs. What if I choose the wrong career path and regret it for the rest of my life? What if I start this project and it fails, and everyone sees me fail? What if I make a decision and it turns out to be a mistake? This endless loop of questioning is not a sign of intelligent analysis, it is a sign of fear. It is a mind so terrified of choosing the wrong door that it chooses to remain in the prison cell where it is safe. But here is the great truth you must understand to break free. In the journey of life, there are no wrong decisions, only feedback. Every action you take, even one that does not produce your desired outcome, gives you invaluable data. It teaches you what doesn't work. It shows you a new perspective. It builds your resilience. A mistake is simply a lesson, a course correction. But inaction teaches you nothing. It provides no new data. It keeps you trapped in the same loop of ignorance and fear. You must accept this profound reality. The cost of inaction is always higher than the cost of a mistake. A mistake can be corrected. A failure can be learned from. But the time, the momentum, and the self-respect you lose while paralyzed by indecision can never be recovered. The real failure is not making the wrong decision. The real failure is making no decision at all. Once you have learned to see that the only true failure is inaction, you are ready to adopt a new, more powerful philosophy.
Embrace imperfect action over perfect inaction. To take the leap of imperfect action, to fire before you are perfectly aimed, requires you to overcome the inner voice that whispers, "It's not good enough. You're going to fail. What will they think?" We must now address the shadow that obscures all opportunity, the silent saboteur that lives within the undisciplined mind, the insidious nature of doubt. Doubt is the close cousin of fear, and it is the assassin of faith. It is a slow-acting poison that does not kill your dream with a single violent blow, but rather erodes its foundation over time until it collapses under its own weight. It is the mental state of being suspended between belief and disbelief, and in this state of suspension, no action is possible. Doubt is a form of self-hypnosis that convinces you that the safest course of action is to do nothing at all. You must learn to distinguish between the healthy skepticism of an accurate thinker and the destructive poison of doubt. The accurate thinker questions things to find the truth, to find the facts. They ask, "How can this be done better?" Doubt, on the other hand, is not an intellectual process. It is an emotional one, born from a feeling of inadequacy. It does not seek truth. It seeks an excuse for inaction. It asks, "Am I even capable of doing this at all?" How do you slay this dragon? You do not fight it with logic alone, for doubt is not logical. You fight it with two superior weapons, faith and action. First, you must starve the doubt. When the voice of doubt appears in your mind, you must have the discipline to withdraw your attention from it. You must refuse to engage it in an argument. You treat it as an unimportant, distracting noise, a radio station playing a song you do not like. You simply change the channel. And how do you change the channel? You immediately and consciously replace the doubtful thought with a powerful affirmation of your definite purpose. You feed your faith. You remind yourself of your why. This is the practice of mental discipline. But the ultimate destroyer of doubt is action. Doubt cannot survive in the face of real-world evidence. It thrives in the fog of inaction and speculation. The moment you take a small, imperfect step, you get feedback. You get a result. This result, this piece of tangible proof, is the sword that slays the dragon of doubt. You prove to yourself, through your own actions, that the voice of doubt was a liar. And with every action you take, you build more evidence for your faith, and the voice of doubt grows weaker and weaker.
Doubt is a shadow that obscures opportunity.
As you consistently slay the dragon of doubt with the sword of decisive action, something remarkable begins to happen in your inner world. The empty space left by the vanquished doubt is not left vacant. Nature abhors a vacuum. That space is immediately filled with a new, powerful, and magnetic quality. This is the state of unwavering conviction, and it is the fuel that powers the great engine of all human achievement. What is conviction? It is more than mere belief. Belief is a thought you accept. Conviction is a truth you have earned through your own experience. It is the deep, internal knowing that your definite purpose is right, that your plan is sound, and that your success is only a matter of time and persistent action. It is the opposite of a mind divided against itself. It is a mind that has become unified, focused, and irresistible in its power. This state of conviction has a tangible, attractive force that influences both the seen and the unseen worlds. First, it influences other people. Humans are instinctively drawn to certainty. When you speak and act with absolute conviction, you project an energy of power and authority that makes others want to cooperate with you. A leader with conviction can inspire a team to achieve the impossible. A salesperson with conviction in their product can overcome any objection. Your certainty becomes a magnet for the support and resources you need. People will trust you because you so clearly and deeply trust yourself. Second, conviction influences the universe itself. A mind operating from a state of unwavering conviction is sending out the clearest, most powerful, and most coherent signal possible to your subconscious mind and to the field of infinite intelligence. It is a definite command, not a timid request. And the universe, which is a perfect mirror to your dominant mental state, has no choice but to reflect back to you the circumstances, opportunities, and results that match your unwavering belief. But understand this: conviction is not a gift. It is not something you can simply decide to have. It is a prize that is earned. It is the reward you receive after you have repeatedly faced your fears, embraced imperfect action, and gathered a mountain of evidence in your own favor by proving your doubts wrong. It is forged in the fires of action. It is the natural result of a life of decision. This is the mental state of the 2%, and it is a state that is available to you the moment you decide to stop hesitating and start acting.
Conviction fuels the engine of achievement. As you stand at the crossroads of any decision, you are not just choosing between two actions. You are choosing between two entirely different futures. You are choosing the type of harvest you will reap at the end of your days. The ninth law you must understand is that there are only two possible outcomes in the garden of your life. You will harvest either regret or results. Let us first examine the path of hesitation. This is the path chosen by the 98%. It feels safe. It is the path of, "I'll wait and see. I need more time to think. I'm not ready yet." It is a path paved with good intentions. But every moment you spend in hesitation, every time you choose inaction over action, you are planting a seed. That seed is the seed of regret. And regret, my friends, is the heaviest and most poisonous of all human emotions. It is the ghost of the person you could have become. It is the agonizing knowledge in your later years that you had the chance, you had the talent, you had the opportunity, but you lacked the simple courage to decide. The pain of a mistake is temporary. It is a lesson that fades, but the pain of regret is a lifelong companion, a constant reminder of a life half-lived. Now, let us examine the path of action. This is the path of the 2%. It is a path of risk. It is a path that will undoubtedly include temporary defeats, mistakes, and course corrections. It is not the safe path, but it is the only path that leads to growth, to wisdom, and to achievement. Every decisive action you take, whether it leads to immediate success or a valuable lesson,
plants a different kind of seed. That seed is the seed of a result. Results are not always victories in the way you expect. Sometimes the result is a lesson. Sometimes the result is a new skill forged in the fire of a challenge. Sometimes the result is a new relationship formed because you had the courage to act. But it is always something. It is always progress. It is always life being lived. The person of action may collect scars, but they collect no regrets. Their life becomes a rich tapestry of experiences, of battles fought, of lessons learned. The life of the hesitant person is a blank canvas, clean and safe, but ultimately empty. You must make a choice. Every single day, you are either cultivating the bitter harvest of regret or the rich harvest of results. There is no middle ground.
Hesitation breeds regret. Action cultivates results.
You stand at this very moment at a crossroads between two futures, one of regret, the other of results. And the choice between these two is not made in a single, grand, life-altering moment. The great path to your destiny is not built with one monumental leap. It is paved, stone by stone, with the thousands of small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make every single day. Every action you take and every action you postpone is a paving stone laid on the road of your life. A decision to act, to face a small fear, to take one step forward on your definite purpose, that is a solid granite stone laid with precision. A decision to hesitate, to procrastinate, to choose comfort over progress, that is a loose, crumbly stone, creating an unstable and treacherous path. Over time, the quality of your road is determined by the quality of the stones you choose to lay. The great mistake of the 98% is that they are waiting for the big decisions to define their lives. They believe that success is about the one big promotion, the one big investment, the one big lucky break. But the masters of life, the 2%, understand the truth. The great victories are won in the small, silent battles of the everyday. They are won in the micro decisions. It is the decision to wake up at the first alarm instead of hitting snooze. It is the decision to make one more sales call instead of checking social media. It is the decision to read 10 pages of a book instead of turning on the television. Each one of these small, decisive acts is a vote cast for your future self. Each one is another solid stone laid on your path to success. The habit of indecision is so deadly because it infects these micro-decisions. It causes you to leak your power, your time, and your potential, drip by drip throughout your day until your life's reservoir of power is empty. Your definite major purpose is the compass that tells you in which direction to build your road. But it is the daily habit of decisive action that actually lays the stones. You cannot reach your destination by simply staring at the compass. You must build the road. And you build it today, not tomorrow. The power to change your entire future is condensed into the very next choice you make. The only question that remains is, what will you choose?
The path to success is paved with decisions. You now stand at the great precipice of choice. We have dissected the silent assassin of indecision. We have confronted the tyrant of perfectionism. We have slain the dragon of doubt. We have understood that the only true failure is inaction, and that the path to your destiny is paved stone by stone with the small daily decisions you make. The power to change your entire future is not in some distant magical tomorrow. It is condensed into the fierce eternal power of this present moment. The only question that remains is, what will you choose? From this moment forward, two paths diverge before you. The first is the well-worn path of hesitation. It is the path of the 98%. It is the comfortable, familiar road that leads back to the land of someday, and ultimately to the graveyard of dreams we spoke of at the beginning of our journey. You can choose that path. You can close this video and allow the old habit to reassert its gentle, deadly control. Or you can choose the other path, the path less traveled, the path of decisive action. It is a path that begins not with a great leap, but with a single, definite decision. A decision made right here, right now, that you will no longer be a slave to the habit of hesitation. The philosophy of the decisive mentality is not one of passive learning, but of active creation. You have the knowledge. Now you must supply the will. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The construction of a new destiny begins with a single, definite decision. Make that decision now. I invite you one last time. Make a commitment to this new life of action. Subscribe to this channel, and in doing so, declare that the habit of hesitation no longer has a place in your mind. Let this be your first paving stone on your new path to success. Let it be a testament to the fact that you have chosen to be the master of your will, the captain of your soul. The future is not something you predict. It is something you create, one decision at a time. Your great story awaits its author. Begin.
Activate the X within you.